Hello Nitro fans, Racing 393, a little bit of a impromptu video if I'm honest. You see the picture here, if you look back into my archive, wasn't very successful. Well, let me rephrase that. My videos are fairly average views, which I'm trying to work on to get them higher. I don't know how I'm going to do that other than keep producing my videos and just hope that they get better in time. So this is another vintage Nitro, very much so based on the MP Kyosho MP series. As I've said before, this was a rebuild video over 6 or 7 episodes, from stripping down, rebuild, put it back together, using mainly the original parts, refurbishing what I had, getting it to the point where, well, this actual picture is a little snapshot of when I got it running on the bench. It is a box start, as you can see. So now, I never had a body shell for this. In fact, the body shell that's supposed to go on this probe VXI, I think it could be a flying point probe, one of those random off the scale, well, not off the scale, but out of the radar, away from anyone's main focal point, a company that brought out a competitive racing buggy to directly challenge, at the time, the Kyosho MP5s and maybe 3s, maybe MP6s. It probably came out around that sort of time. And the body shell that was supposed to go on this, if I could find a picture, I'll put it up now. Here's a picture of it. Mainly the body shell. I'm not sure if you can see that. Should we let's zoom in a bit. That's a bit clearer. So it's a very cross between the front cab truggy, but more futuristic, I suppose. It doesn't look terrible, but I am not really a cab forward kind of guy. I don't, unless it's box, so it sort of resembles like a truck, if you like. It's not really my thing. I've got to say, although I was never keen on this, over time when I've been rebuilding it and playing around with MP 5, 6s and turbo burns, because the turbo burns, it's not like that, but it's a very much rounded cab style rather than the razor edge style of MP series of cab that you did get back in the late 80s, sort of 3/4 80s to sort of early 90s. This was a direct competitor to those vehicles. Now, I haven't got one of those body shells, which I'm not too fussed about, but what I have got is an MP. Oh no, so it might be a Turbo Burns shell, which was on a chassis that I bought, and I've just literally cut it about so that it fits. One of the main issues with the original MP series body shell is the engines on the MP 5, 6, Burns and Turbo. The engine is on the left. As you look at this car now, the engine's on the left-hand side, to the nearest to us. With this one, the engine's on the right. So I've had to cut like an extra gaping hole in the back of the body shell, which you'll see in a minute. But I have to say, it does actually fit. The footprint and the size and everything that goes on, especially that goes around the bit that goes around the rear wing uprights, it's exactly the same. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit of a close-up of the car. I've done a bit more to it since the video, and I've just cut and shut the body shell on, as well as the engine being on the right-hand side of the chassis. That includes the exhaust as well, so it's a bit of a mishmash. But I'm only trying it out to see if it works. The body shell on, so it doesn't just look like a bare chassis. bit of tuning, and we'll see what it goes like. There's not a lot of compression on this engine. It's an OS 21 RF. Seems to be the stable engine they put on anything. It's basic. It is basic. Last time it ran in the shed, it ran up. The front wheels are turning, the back wheels less so. I'm not sure why that would be, because it all seems to spin when I spin the wheels. All the diffs are working, so I've got 3 diffs, which seems to be like a new thing, but the Kyosho were doing that years ago. Front, rear and middle. But yeah, I think we'll just get this, have a little go, have a little test run, bit of tunage, I hope, and then we'll go from there. So we'll just hop over to the shed where you can see the car up close again, and just we'll go over some bits and pieces, and then we'll get it out in this video. Right, let's get this started up. I've got a feeling the diff's blown. It runs alright, but I think the diff's blown. We'll see. It's pulls to one side really badly. So it pulls, I think it's only front wheel drive. Might be a little bit rich. Sounds alright, doesn't it? Something that's in competition with the Kyosho at the time. Weaken off a bit more. That's that. Fairly successful. The problem being, I think the diff blew on this side, because look, I can just turn that, nothing happens. Something in there's gone, but this side it still turns the rest of the drivetrain, and the front still sort of works as a diff, although it's very free. Yeah, so I need to look at that. It ran really well, not quite as, maybe not quite as free as I wanted it. Remember, this body shell isn't cut for this chassis either, so it's a bit grubby now though. As you can see, used. I normally will brush it off with this, which I'll do, but yeah, I'm going to put some after run oil in there, and then we'll do a little closing, I think. Oh, it is dusty, man. I don't know if it leaked. A little bit around here, I think. With that exhaust. Might have to do something with that, the coupling on there. But not bad. Yeah, right, so bit of oil and then a closing. So let's finish up with a quick summary of what happened. Not a lot, and then a lot. It's a long time coming, getting cars out running, especially when you're rebuilding them. This is what I personally, I get a lot of enjoyment out of the old Nitros, as I said before. It is a lot easier just whacking a battery into an RC car and taking it out for a spin. It's cleaner, it's easier, it's lighter, etc., etc. You can even buy new Nitros, and you might get a much better running experience, possibly. First and foremost, I think one of the main things, I keep banging on about it, and it's annoying for me, so it must be annoying for you. But then again, on the other hand, I think whatever, it will get fixed. I'll sort it out at some point. But the bloody camera on my cap, I don't know what's happening so far. I could link the camera to my phone so I can see what the camera sees, but there's not a lot of signal where I'm at. So although it's only going to be Bluetoothed to it, it just drains the battery as well. So apologies for that. A simple rookie error that I keep making, but hey ho. Now onto the running. Car. The engine hasn't got a lot of compression, so it's a knackered OS RF from back in the day engine. It's not going to be pucker. But I started it up in the shed the other day prior to doing this video, and the idle was up and down, up and down. It was horrendous. Upon investigation, what I had to do, because where the carburetor linkage hole, where you put a ball joint on and a ball joint end, clip that on. Well, that hole, which usually would screw in and bolt up, was elongated, probably over years of use of being loose, and it's worn part of that aluminium hole away, so it's made it a bit oblong, if you like, an oval. What I hadn't realised is the carb setting of when it was shut to open, and I had noticed this when I was revving the car on the bench, that the carb would sort of move or fluctuate. It's not a butterfly slide. It's a slide carb, but that was fluctuating. So what I did is I put a throttle return spring. I'm not sure you can see it in the picture because it's sort of behind the engine, but a throttle return spring so that the throttle was definitely shut when you let the throttle off. And that made all the difference. It steadied everything from pickup, idle to high revs, enabling me to get the car out and running for you. The body shell is a Turbo Burns MP5 or 6. I've got one there similar. So I sort of cut and shut. I was going to just throw it away. I just wanted to make sure that the chassis was compatible. So it does go on. It wasn't pinned on. It does, funny enough, it slots on exactly how it is. So the footprint of this probe, VXI, probe VXI, is it a flying point? I don't know. Whatever it is, there's a bunch of videos of me rebuilding this car, and it was a direct competition at the time to the Kyosho MP Series Nitro 1/8 rallycross scene, as it was known then. Although this car, I think, was European. So if you're from overseas, i.e. America, you probably would never have seen one of these. This one hasn't got a special feature, but the other one I have got, which I haven't rebuilt, but it's all there, more complete, is where the rear wing used to adjust the angle when you went over the bumps and things. So I think when the suspension was fully down, the wing was at an angle. If it landed, it was more flat. I don't actually think it made a lot of difference. In fact, I don't think it was very successful at all. But the platform on this chassis is very much a copy of the Kyosho MP series, so hence why that body shell fitted. So upon running, unfortunately, we did have the other problem of the diff. I did mention it. If you watch, I'll put a link in the description of perhaps the playlist of the build of this car. I had mentioned that when I built the rear diff, it sort of locked itself, but it had some play, and I wasn't too happy with that. Upon a gut feeling, I should have stripped it down and had a look, because lo and behold, the diff gave up. One side of the diff, the right-hand side, if you look at the car, the wheel was just spinning. I actually thought I lost a drive shaft, but that's still there. And the other side of the diff, the left side on the rear, works the drivetrain through to the front. So, yep, we need to look at that. I've got front and rear diff assemblies, suspension for this anyway, so it would just be a case of stripping that one down and putting a new diff in. I think the diffs as a whole are quite free, so they might want a bit of servicing, which is a bit of a pain because although the front and rear diff ain't that difficult to access, the centre diff is. But you know, this car for its sort of era is quite advanced, where little things like the brake system on the Burns or Turbo Burns setup, the ones that I've got anyway, have got, well, the ones that you've seen have got a single brake disc which operates front and rear equally, where the MP5 and 6 and this one, the Probe, has got independent brake discs and levers, allowing you to adjust the front to rear braking, which is handy. I haven't really messed around with that. I think it's as equal as it can be on this car anyway. So, yeah, overall, a reasonably successful outing. So next time you'll see this car, we'll be doing some wrenching, some repair work. So I don't envisage giving you a whole breakdown of what I'm doing because you've seen me build it if you've watched my previous videos. So there'll be an update video of any repair work, and I'll probably have a look and then show you what I've done, or if I find anything wrong. Bound to be something wrong with that rear diff. Something's broken, snapped, or loose. It'd be interesting, I suppose, to have a look. It's pretty my fault ultimately because I think I built it. I wouldn't say wrong, but I must have made an error with the assembly of the rear diff. So, yeah, it does need a clean. It was very dusty, but it is what it is. That's why we use these RC cars. There's a few leaks on the manifold to the coupler. That's a fairly soft coupler, if I'm honest. I can always buy or have got a harder plastic rubber coupler that will go on there. It's also a bit of a gap between the manifold and the exhaust and the coupler. There's a bit of a rubbery bit in the middle. I'm not saying that's a problem, but I think they should be a little bit closer inside. Something I can work on. And then I think we'll probably get a proper body shell that's for this, that fits it. You probably don't need it. I mean, but I will, just because. And then we'll get it back out again at some point. And if you know my videos, that could be sometime in the future, as in years, but more likely it will be in weeks. Got a couple of videos coming up soon, spoiler alert, to do with it's not nitro, it's to do with electric. Quite an interesting video coming up regarding a speed run challenge, which by the time you see this video, the speed run videos and subsequent challenges will be, you've probably seen them prior to this because they've got to be in real time. It runs throughout July, so the speed run challenge would have been started, and you may have seen videos of the speed run challenge itself by the time you see this video. But anyhow, that's something to look forward to. But anyway, that's the end of this video. That's the end of the running video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've got one of these. I'd be interested to see if anyone's got one of these, actually, because of the rarity of it. I've only ever seen, well, two, and I've got two of them, and spares. When you read up on it on the forums, it's mainly in like Italy, France, Spain where people might have these. Definitely, I haven't seen anyone online, nevertheless, in the States or over the pond, as it were, that have got one. So I'll be interested to see, to hear from anyone that's got one and what you think. Is it running, or if you just got it as a pile of bits? You never know, I might even buy it off you. So, yep. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall see you next time when we get it back out again. Bye for now.